Thanks, Tim, for joining me. I'm here with Tim Echols. He is commissioner of the Public Services Commission in Georgia, also the founder of the Clean Energy Roadshow, and the host of a great podcast called Energy Matters Radio, an EV owner himself, a dad of 7. So welcome. Thanks. It's so great to have you, Tim.
Yeah, it's great to be here. A lot of exciting things happening in the EV world.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, first of all, I just wanted to point out you were at the event yesterday at Georgia. In fact, you were mentioned by Governor Kemp, first and last name, and pointed out specifically. How was that event for you? And did you see the Rivians and did you get a chance to appreciate them a little bit?
I did get up close and personal with those Rivians yesterday. I had already hosted a couple of Rivians at the state capitol during the last legislative session. I wanted to get them in between the Capitol and the Legislative Office Building last winter so that when legislators went from the chamber to their offices, they would have to pass by the Rivian. And so it got a tremendous amount of looks. It wasn't a ride drive, but legislators were sitting in it. They were asking questions. We had a couple of Rivian reps that were there. TV was there, but yesterday was a media circus. It was an absolute media circus because this is the biggest economic development project in terms of employees and money in the history of the state of Georgia.
Yeah, I heard the governor say that. The quote was, "This is the largest single economic development project ever in this state's history." That's a pretty big statement. Can you put any numbers to that or anything? Do you know how he's arrived at that?
You know, he's definitely not counting our nuclear reactor, right? Because our nuclear reactor, the 2 reactors, are about $28 billion. So, but that's owned by the utility. This is a project that economic development went out, marketed, solicited, and created a deal for Rivian that will bring 7,500 jobs. Who knows what they'll wind up spending, on their factory, $5 billion, $7 billion. But having already seen what the Kia plant did in terms of bringing ancillary businesses and people that wanted to be close to Kia, if the same thing happens to Rivian, it's gonna get up there towards $10 billion. And there's a lot of room in the Stanton Springs office park or development area where Rivian's go, and Facebook is already there.
Okay.
And then Rivian wants their plant to be powered by renewable energy, which means it's going to trigger some kind of PPA for solar, in order to power that plant. I don't know how many megawatts that plant needs, but I mean, it's going to be a lot. It wouldn't surprise me if it needs a gigawatt of power.
So just to clarify, PPA means power purchase agreement. I know that because my wife works in this world, and I get to overhear some of her conference calls. But just to point out some specifics about this announcement, it's a 2,000-acre site. It's in a complex. In Denver, we have a place called the Denver Tech Center. I'm kind of imagining something like that in Atlanta. Is it similar? Like it's a group of new companies and manufacturers.
This land has been accumulated over a 20-year period by 4 counties. It's kind of sitting, in 4 counties, and serviced by several different utilities who have gone in together with a partnership to make sure that they can provide the power that it needs. So it is a long time in building up this parcel. And that's frankly part of the secret sauce, I think, the fact that Rivian didn't have to go out and try to accumulate parcels. It was already accumulated for them.
Gotcha. And so it's about 2,000 acres. It's about an hour east of Atlanta. So it's a bedroom community, you might say, I guess.
Think about the road going from I-20, going from Atlanta to Augusta, the home of the Masters Golf Tournament, Augusta National, and what's already there? The headquarters for Club Car and EasyGo, right?
Oh, wow.
Electric car companies. Granted, they make golf carts and they make low-speed electric vehicles, but it's going to make I-20 the electric vehicle hub, certainly the Southeast, but maybe beyond that.
So I understand that the Georgia's kind of leapfrogged a little bit. They've got the new plant there from the SK Innovations plant that's making the batteries for the Ford Lightning.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. So, and that's as the crow flies, maybe 100 miles from this Rivian plant, where the Rivian plant's going to be. So, I mean, if the F-150 powertrain's being made 100 miles from where the Rivian powertrain's being made, I mean, to me, I was just sitting there yesterday going, wow, what a difference 6 years makes. 6 years ago, Republicans ended the state tax credit for EVs. They plopped a $200 penalty fee on EVs, and they were kicked out of the express lanes. So you've got now the state, the Republican power structure, embracing Rivian and moving all the levers of government to get them here. And when you get government invested like that, it's a good thing. And the pledges that were made yesterday from the highest level in our state to not just be there for the recruitment, but to be with Rivian throughout. And what that meant to me, I don't know that it meant this to anyone else, is what it meant to me is if they're going to be with Rivian throughout, Rivian, one, is going to want that tax credit brought back to give Georgians an incentive to buy those vehicles. Sure. A special incentive, a $5,000 state tax credit in addition to the $7,500 federal tax credit. That wasn't mentioned yesterday, but if you're going to be with them, that they're going to ask for that. And number two, they are going to ask for some special dispensation around our dealer law that prohibits people from buying directly from the manufacturer unless the state provides a carve out. That wasn't mentioned, but if the state's going to be with Rivian, Rivian's going to be asking for that.
Just to get back to a couple more points here, this particular thing, I thought this was interesting. This plant would bring 7,500 jobs, direct jobs, I presume, but 50,000 net jobs along the value chain. Tell me about how that works.
Yeah, the value chain. You think about seat manufacturers. I mean, this is an assembly plant, right? So not everything going into that vehicle is going to be made in that plant. It might be made somewhere else. And we've seen this with Kia, is that people locate in office parks, within 10 miles of Kia because they're making this piece for the engine, or they're making this piece for the transmission, or this trim piece, or whatever it is. The trucks that have to take them out, you've got that, the truck drivers involved. There's just a lot involved with a car manufacturing plant that triggers, other companies, wanting to be adjacent, nearby.
So, and the plant is supposed to be breaking ground this summer, and they're supposed to be producing trucks or vehicles sometime in 2024. And what's another interesting thing is that the Normal plant in Illinois, Rivian's first plant, it has a capacity that's building up to about 200,000. This particular plant will be a capacity of twice that, up to 400,000. So it's a big deal.
I've got to give a shout out. It wasn't mentioned yesterday that Cox Enterprises, who owns Manheim Car Auctions, Kelley Blue Book, Autotrader.com, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and Cox Cable, the CEO, it's a family-owned business. He invested $350 million in Rivian. $350 million 2 years ago.
Wow.
And they also provide all the service for the Amazon vans that are coming here through Atlanta in terms of getting them ready to be rolled out, fixing them when they're broken, renting them out to the drivers. I've got to think that the money invested by Cox Enterprises had something to do with this.
Really?
Because what it shows is an Atlanta family that has substantially invested, and Cox Enterprises, with their Manheim auto auction arm, has the ability to really help Rivian in the secondary market, and just like they've done with Tesla here, they play a tremendous role in essentially taking Teslas off lease, getting them ready to go back into the retail market, into the lease market, and they built an entire EV mobility facility. It's the largest array of chargers east of the Mississippi. So I got to think that was part of it.
Well, probably, and that's great. I mean, I know that Cox and Rivian have been working together on building up a service network as well. So I'm sure that that's part of it. But let me ask you something. I know that this particular area is actually in your district. You're an elected commissioner, and this happens to be in your district, which is a great boon for you. So I mean, aside from that, professionally, I want to know personally, what does this mean to you to have this in your area? I know you're a big EV fan, so there's got to be more than just the votes that will come here.
Yeah, the thing about being a politician, especially when you come out early for an issue, and I got my first electric vehicle in 2013 with a Nissan Leaf, is that now maybe people have forgotten that I was there 8 years ago, right? That I was a leader, and now everybody's on the bandwagon, and I'm sitting there going, I mean, I know the governor gave me the shout out yesterday, but the governor didn't say, and he could have said, Tim, you've been at this a long time. You created the Clean Energy Roadshow. You've been a leader. You got 6 electric vehicles. He didn't say any of that. He just thanked us for our low energy prices, which obviously had something to do with Rivian coming. But even the governor, I think, has forgotten that I was there, early on. And well, you just got to die. You just got to die to it. Your pride, it just pokes a hole in your pride,
Well, this is a chance for you to clear that up a little bit. Tell me a little bit about how the Public Services Commission and this Rivian plant will connect together. Why do the PSC need to be involved here at all?
The PSC has the ability, one, to provide rebates on chargers for the electric company, right? So let's just say that in Georgia, 100,000 people order Rivians. Well, every one of those people are going to need a charger in their garage, right? That's a lot of chargers. And so the amount of money that we set aside for the utility to rebate back to people can save them money in their garage. That's one. The time of use charging rate that we created in 2013, where people can change the way that they're buying electricity if they have an electric car. Well, adding another 100,000 people to our time of use rate would do great things for our grid, because what we discovered about these EV owners is that they actually increase the load of power. Obviously, they're charging a car now, but they shift that load overnight. So, and that shift provides greater grid efficiency. Technically, it lowers everybody's rate. Now, when I say lower, I mean fractionally lower, but lower is better than raising, right?
Sure.
So the PSC's involved with that. And then the make-ready money, and this is what I mentioned to both the Rivian executives that were there yesterday. I said, look, don't forget, we gave Georgia Power $24 million for EV make-ready 3 years ago. We're getting ready to renew that. You guys need to get in on this, because Rivian wants to have chargers in every state park. That's one of their that's part of their business model, is that this is an adventure vehicle. You're going to tow a camper with this vehicle. You're going camping. And so if you're going to go to a state park with a Rivian and it's in the middle of nowhere, you need electricity to charge that Rivian in that state park. And so the make ready money, if our commissioner of our parks, which is under the Department of Natural Resources, if he came to the commission and said, hey, commissioners, the Rivians are coming and we want to go ahead and get ready for that, we would like to add 6 chargers, 10 chargers, 20 chargers, whatever the number is, at all of our state parks. I mean, that's going to be, that's going to be 250 charging units. And if Rivian doesn't have to pay for that, right? If that comes out of the state budget and then we have the utility provide all the make ready for that, that's a huge savings. And it goes a long way to helping Rivian have their network, right? I mean, Tesla superchargers are on interstates. Rivian chargers, part of them are going to be in state parks all over the country.
Does the commission get involved in the building of the plant itself? I know that Rivian wants to, as you mentioned, they want to run this on green energy. Do you help with? Does the commission help with providing that energy? What
we do is we create a special power purchase agreement or a special tariff, and we call it our C&I, Commercial and Industrial Renewable Tariff, where a company like Rivian can say, we need 500 megawatts of green energy, and then so we would authorize the power company to build this. And Rivian would pay a couple of extra cents per kilowatt, but Rivian would also receive the energy generated off of those 500 megawatts, which is about 3,000 acres of solar. So that 3,000 acres of solar, Rivian would get a credit on their bill based on the performance. So yeah, they're paying a little bit extra, but then they're going to get a credit as well based on the actual performance of the arrays.
So I want to step back a little bit and ask you a couple of other questions. So Georgia was in competition with other places. I've heard Texas and Arizona among probably many others. Why do you think Georgia stood out to Rivian? I know you mentioned the Cox connection, but that can't be the only reason, obviously. Why do you think Georgia stood out to Rivian among all these other possibilities?
Well, we have energy that's about 15% below the national average, so that has to be part of it. We had the parcel of land already assembled for them, so it was kind of turnkey for them. We have a port not very far from where they're locating. I mean, 3 hours from where they're locating. They're going to be exporting these trucks. So we've got the ability to get their trucks onto those ships once they get down to the port. And then, we've got basically an economic development authority in that Stanton Springs area that really courted them. They already had won Facebook. You know that had to be a head turner for Rivian. Wait a second, Facebook is here, and the green energy that Facebook wanted is being supplied. So I think the proof is in the pudding, and in this case, there was a lot of evidence, I think, already for Rivian to know that the state could really back up what they were promising to deliver.
You probably heard that Motor Trend selected the Rivian R1T as its truck of the year. Lucid won its car of the year, both all-electric vehicles. Do you think this is a transition point for transportation?
I think it's a step. I wouldn't say it's a transition quite yet. I mean, the Rivians aren't going to be here out of that plant for another couple years. So I tend to agree with Cox Automotive on kind of a slower impact for EVs. I know a lot of people thought, wow, 2030, yeah, we're going to have half the cars in America. I just don't think it's going to be quite that quick. But this is obviously a phenomenal step. The infrastructure plan with, $7.5 billion for charger infrastructure, that's a great opportunity. So I think it's just going to be, we're ticking up a couple of points on market share every year. So maybe by 2040, we've got half the cars in America. I just don't think it's going to be. I don't know that we'll ever not have gasoline cars. I mean, can you imagine a 67 Camaro or a 73 Corvette not being able to operate? No. We're gonna keep some legacy gasoline for our classic cars. It's too important of an industry, and it's too important to California. Californians love electric cars, but they also love classic cars out there.
What do you think are the obstacles for Rivian going forward here, or for EVs in general, both putting this plant in as well as moving forward in the EV space?
What a lot of people probably aren't thinking about are these Amazon vans. Does a day go by when you don't see an Amazon van? No,
multiple.
They're in my neighborhood, and the fact that these Amazon vans will be Rivians, to me, is the most significant thing about what's going on here. Is that they're commercial vehicles that run 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. All the gasoline that they've been using, they won't be using anymore. It is going to be just, to me, a very significant environmental, impact for these vehicles to transition to electric. Yeah, I mean the $70,000 truck. I mean, how cool is that? But even if you have a Rivian, you're not going to be driving it probably more than 2 hours a day. If it's a truck, is from an environmental standpoint, moving commercial vehicles, whether it's a trash truck, an Amazon delivery truck, or an 18-wheeler, moving those to a cleaner transportation is what our country needs. It is a far bigger task and a far more significant task than even closing coal plants, because just the sheer amount of greenhouse gases that are coming out of the millions upon millions upon millions of vehicles in America.
That's awesome, Tim. I thank you so much for your expertise. It's really great to see a person of your caliber so excited about EVs like I am, like a lot of the folks who are tuning into this channel and others, and it's really fun. And just a reminder for anyone watching, we have done another interview before this, but it was a little more general. But today I wanted to talk specifically about the Rivian announcement, and we'll get to that other interview in short order. But thank you so much for taking the time here, and I hope we get a chance to talk several more times about this. I mean, there will be lots of more chances because obviously this plant's going in, so we're going to have more to talk about.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot.